Hi, Josh Long here with Remax Signature Properties, and I want to take a quick moment this morning. We have so many families that are relocating from California. I wanted to introduce you to one of my favorite families that's moved here over the last couple of years. Not only have they been great clients, but they've become really close friends. And Tessa and I have been talking a lot about just kind of what other families should expect. And so we thought maybe a little interview and introducing you to a family that's done this and might be able to answer some of your questions. And so I want to introduce you to Tessa Forbes. And we'll start with just a quick question. Why were you considering relocating out of California, Tessa?
My husband and I think it was always one of those things in the back of our minds that if push came to shove, we may need to leave California, which was never something that we really wanted to entertain because our family is there. Both my husband's side, my side, it's all we know. But when it came to me getting pregnant with our third baby, we just really felt that it was maybe time for a change. My oldest was going to be going into kindergarten within the next year and a half, and it was time for me to fully be at home so I could focus on the three kids. And we wanted a better life. Yeah. For our family.
Well, I remember when we moved here in 2007, Becca's whole side of the family, probably 80 members within a 30-mile radius, pretty much disowned me to some extent. And when I moved from from California to Texas, there wasn't as big of a political divide as there is now in California. We left because of public schools, economy, great education, just better opportunities for our family. And so I know that's why a lot of you are questioning or even thinking about that. And so I thought that'd be really interesting. And then, Tessa hit on that, as a move, you start, your family values start changing, or your family priorities start really changing, I guess, to the point where, the next 20 years are really what you're looking for. And so I would just say then in that question, why Texas? I know you guys actually went to North Carolina. You went to a couple other states as well. So why did you choose Texas?
We did. You're right. We were in the process of interviewing actually in North Carolina, and just a couple of weeks before our first trip to Texas, we were in North Carolina for my husband's interview. And as I don't want to sound cheesy, but when we landed in Texas, there was just something that came over me right from the get out that I just knew there is really something about this place. It wasn't as I had expected at all. I didn't know.
There weren't cowboys running down the road?
There were no cowboys running down the road. There weren't cactuses everywhere.
People always ask me, where's everybody's cowboy hat? And I always say it's DFW. You're going to find a lot of cowboys still around the area, but in general, it's a very civilized place to live. So
it is. And it felt like home. There wasn't going to be a large culture shock in getting used to things. Everything is here. Everything and more that you could want to do. There is a plethora of things to do, of places to visit, of places to eat. And overall, I think why Texas was we could see our lives here. We were welcomed right away, even from our visit.
Did you feel Southern hospitality?
I did. There was a hint of that. And
people still say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you. Very
Yeah.
polite culture in general. So
we sat down for lunch after seeing some houses, and the gentleman that was serving us went into the back and homemade a little pudding for me because he knew I was really pregnant at the time, and I just looked hungry, I guess, and he just fed me something that wasn't even on the menu, just because he just wanted to feed a pregnant lady.
Well, in this interview, I do, obviously we're not making this interview about Signature Home Team and what we do, but, one of the things that I think is really important is what our team has tried to put together for families moving from California. Honestly, you need to know this too as well. Everyone on my team here with Signature Home Team are California natives that have actually done what you're looking to do. And so we try to make it an experience. We try to make it as user-friendly that first visit as possible. Doing city visits, home visits, taking you all over different areas and showing you what's available for your family. But, I think that's kind of what makes us unique. And, Tessa and I actually met on one of these groups, and we started chatting, and she grilled me. Tessa grilled me about everything. When I met her and picked her up to start taking her around, she had done her homework. And so I'd kind of like to know a little bit about what she kind of felt about the experience when she first got here, and kind of what we've put together and how we help with those type of things for transition. So.
Okay, so when we first landed, or the first day I met with Josh, my husband was out interviewing, and again,
I remember that.
I was very pregnant, and he pulls up to the hotel, and he has a cup of coffee, Starbucks in hand for me, which I was sold right there. But it was, I had laser focus on that. I had a lot that I had to accomplish in just a couple of days, and I had no idea what to expect. I had done my research, yes, but at the same time, there's only so much you can do from being remote, knowing absolutely nothing about anything. You're just trying to pick up pieces from what you can think of, when there's so much that is outside of your knowing. And when I spoke with Josh, I informed him a little bit about our family, what we're looking for. Education was important to us. Community was very important to us. Quality of life, which includes doing things, and then also having the money to do things, and provide for our children in a place that we could feel like home. But we also wanted to get out of a concrete jungle. We didn't want to live in the hustle and bustle. We didn't want a lot of traffic. We wanted to kind of slow our lives down and have that be part of our change. And when I told Josh all of these things, he was able to focus in and basically tell me, this sounds like McKinney. I had been interested in Plano, Frisco.
We saw some interesting houses in Plano that day.
We did.
I remember some of those houses.
We did. And there's wonderful houses. I mean, you're not going to have a hard time finding homes here. But it really came down to, more than anything, I think, the community and the quality of life that you were able to help give me the vision for. For instance, I remember just on our drive, there's a place called the Apex here, and it was completely foreign to me, this concept, but it is essentially a community public rec center, but it's a ginormous, beautiful 3-story gym. It has an indoor pool for laps. It has an indoor kid pool. It has a whole track upstairs. It has a basketball court in it. It has room for different workout classes, whatever you can imagine, rooms for birthday parties. It is just a huge center. And then in front of it is a huge water park. Massive.
You're gonna want that in the summer.
Oh yeah, you will. Massive slides. It looked like a Disneyland. I knew it would look like Disneyland through my children's eyes. And in my mind, it's okay. Well, yeah, this is really cool, but we can't afford this. We can't afford to go to something like this as a family of 5. And when Josh had actually been a member and he told us the cost, it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So one thing you have to know about Texas is completely, they're fanaticals, first of all, about being Texans, but they're fanaticals about their recreational sports facilities. And so right next to it as well is another gym that has 15 indoor basketball courts for youth sports, and then all the soccer fields and things of that nature. But memberships like that in McKinney are around, I think they've gone up a little bit, but they're around $1,100 a year for a family, for everything, for all the outdoor activities, all the gym memberships, for anything and everything. But it's a community project service that anybody can use, and you set up for a membership, and there's been a lot of families that have really enjoyed since that has been built. And there's actually another one being built in northern McKinney right now, and they have them in Frisco, they have them in Plano. It's not specific to McKinney, but it's right in the middle of our town, and so a lot of families have really liked the engagement of that. So
it is, and even down to the parks. Anything that is city facility is so well cared for. It is so clean. It is beautiful. I mean, some of these play sets for the children are, again, it was all so foreign to me. I couldn't believe it. And then another thing that I'll never forget is we were looking at a home, and right alongside of the home is in a cul-de-sac, and it was a beautiful home, but there was a large ditch. and on a little ways away were some commercial buildings. And I said, well, this is beautiful and this is so quiet over here, but this ditch area makes me very nervous for safety. And he has a confused look on his face, and he said, no, it's safe. And I'm like, well, do people settle? Do people sleep down there at night? Do people try to live there? And he goes, oh, no, that you won't have any of that here. And that was another thing that was completely foreign to me. And it was so second nature for that to be the first thing that my mind went to was safety. And for him to just be almost caught off guard by, I even would consider that could possibly be, that was another.
Well, to touch on that point, for Tessa's point, there are 5 cities in Collin County, and Collin County is right above Dallas County. So if you're not familiar where Collin County is, there are 5 cities in Collin County that are in the top 20 safest cities to live in the nation for cities that are 100,000 or more. So, I mean, there are certain things that you guys are dealing with, maybe in California as far as families and related issues as far as those type of things, safety concerns that, things that we don't even take a second thought of. I've heard so many, I don't want to say great stories, but so many stories about not only the homeless population, but also just crime and what's going on. That those are things that, in general, we don't even take into consideration. So, so I want to ask a quick question, Tessa, because we want to wrap up for whoever's watching. But what are some things? There's always some major adjustments, and I am always very quick to tell all of my husbands that they need to be prepared for a supply of Kleenex, and not in a bad way, but I mean in general. When I moved my family here, I wasn't really prepared for the next 6 months of I'm at work, meeting people, going to lunch, doing all these great things, and really, getting really engulfed into a community. And my wife's at home with kids, missing everything she's ever known. Family, whether it just be friends, somebody to go have coffee with in general. But I think that's one of the things that I try to really not caution, because it's going to happen. I mean, whenever you leave something and come to something you don't know, there's an adjustment factor, no matter how great it looks from the outside. What are some adjustments you guys have, just have seen that you probably kind of prepared yourself for, but at the same time thought, wow, this has been a little bit different. So just to kind of throw some things out for them.
Hands down, the biggest challenge was moving away from everything that we knew and everyone. Our family, that was very difficult. And as I mentioned, I was pregnant. I was 8 months pregnant. So we really did it on a great timing. So I had a baby in a foreign state, and I think that I made friends with the nurses. They were probably a couple of the girls that I knew the best. So moving away from family was definitely challenging. But what I didn't expect in that was the growth that came with that, and the growth between my husband and I, and how we were able to rely on one another, and everything that we've built from here has been he and I locked arms. And that pain that we experienced, I experienced that first year, it's only made us stronger. And that was something that I didn't expect to happen so quickly. Another thing that was an adjustment, or still is weather. That's always a big question that I get for how's the weather, how's summer. And if I'm being honest, everybody has their own opinions. So, but for me, hot is hot. So the summers, it's not too different for me. It's more of a humid.
And you were in Southern California.
I was in Southern California. So it's a dry heat. And here it's a humid, wet heat. But hot is hot. So the summer it hasn't been too terrible for us. There's air conditioning everywhere, and you just find a pool and don't get out of it. But weather, the storms was something that I wasn't prepared for. I've never thought about weather as much as I have since I've moved here.
You plan around it.
You plan around it. It's a real thing. That was something that was completely off of my radar. Like, what do you mean we can't go to the grocery store because there's a thunderstorm? So that was a kicker. But again, it's all perspective. And for me, it's humbling And it's kind of fun. I've grown to really actually enjoy the storms. They're fun to watch. And I think really like finances, that's always a really big question. But for us, that wasn't as big of an adjustment. I think because when we made the move, we planned everything very conservatively, which again, this is just my experience, but I stand by it and I'm glad we did it this way, because when you're going somewhere, you don't know really how much water costs. You don't know how much electricity costs. You don't know what it's going to cost to go and take your family out for dinner. And so everything that we did, we were very conservative with all of our numbers. And I think that really helped us to not have to, to make that more of a smoother transition, I guess.
Well, have you felt like, so there's always a question, and this comes up just about every time I talk to a California family. I've had 4 conversations just this week, and it's Tuesday. So yesterday was a busy day with California conversations, but last week we actually were showing 3 different families, and we really love that. But one of the things that always comes up is, do Texans hate Californians? And I think in general that used to be something that was a massive concern. The one thing I will let you know, I mean, in the Metroplex, we have just a little under 8 million people live in the Metroplex. And so what you need to know about that is, out of those 8 million people, only 1 out of every 3 were even born in the state of Texas. And so a lot of families have migrated here. And I will tell you right now, I think Texans love Californians as much as they ever have because of the last election and how the voting went. And then in general, Texans just want you to accept who they are. When you get here, they love being Texans. And as long as you're excited about that, they're excited about you. There's not really any, I think that stigmatism is not necessarily as strong as most people would think. And I've had a lot of families that have moved here, including the Forbes, that have been probably overly impressed with hospitality. And really, it's not under any circumstance. If you want to get to know people, they want to get to know you, regardless of what state you came from. They're just, again, fanatical about what they believe in and what they want to keep and what they want to hold true to. And so that's their big thing. And as long as you're close to that, they're fine. And then in a lot of cases, they're fine even if you're not, as long as you don't want to talk about it a whole lot. Just, meet in the middle and have, go to a bar, have a drink, and watch sports. And you're found a whole bunch of friendly Texans. So
yeah, it is, and that is true. I was, we were nervous about that when we first moved here, and I think we would beat around the bush as much as possible before saying we're from California, because we had that stigma, or we were afraid people had that stigma about us. And honestly, I have not ran into it once. I have not been shamed by anyone. So the opposite. I mean, you go to the grocery store, and again, I was pregnant. Everyone's opening doors for you. I don't think I opened a single door for myself into any public place. People are opening doors for you. They're genuinely looking at you and saying hi, how are you doing? It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter. My kids can look like ragamuffins, and people are just genuinely, they're kind. Example, we joined a church very quickly. It was the same church that I enrolled my children in for preschool. And we were only there for
5 minutes. I'm just joking.
3 to 4 weeks, I think, before I had my baby. And the entire month of March, I had a hot meal show up on our doorstep every other day. March is a long month. And the church created a meal train for me. And everybody actually came and provided things. They threw me a little baby shower. I have handmade embroidered bibs for my son. We'd been here for 5 minutes. My other kids don't have anything embroidered, but my youngest has embroidered shirts. He has embroidered bibs, all the stuff, because everybody was just so warm and welcoming, and genuinely kind.
Well, I'm excited about this year. We have so many families that are looking to move here. And, honestly, from the real estate perspective, there's a reason to be excited, because this is how we make our living. But at the same time, I'm excited because the conversations never get old for me. I mean, it's enjoyable. I truly feel blessed by the opportunity to not only serve so many families, but to get to know so many families. And I want to make sure you guys understand, whether you're moving to DFW or just moving to Texas in general, please reach out. I mean, I've got partners in every major city and a lot of the different major areas. If you're looking for someone that can give you good local advice, and I will tell you that that's one of the most important things. Don't choose based off of rankings. Don't choose based off of, hey, I looked in the phone book and this guy, whatever it may be. Look for a good referral, and that's what I do for our clients, whether they're coming here or they're going to Houston or San Antonio or Austin or El Camarillo, El Paso. I like to find a good professional there that I can interview and find out how well, are they really well based there? They know their information, because this transition is big enough and it's hard enough not to move to the wrong neighborhood and in the wrong area based off of just someone wanting to sell you a house. So ask the questions. I love having these conversations. And like I said, last week I had 7 different conversations, one of which was 2 hours, and that's totally fine. I mean, it's a major transition. Rely upon us to at least help you, give you some direction. Yeah. And I want to say thanks, Tessa. I mean, thanks for taking your time this morning. I mean, not only have you been a great friend, you've been a great referral source, and actually Tessa handles most of my social media stuff now for me and helping me with that, because she saw that need, going, Josh, you really need to get better at this, and she's done great. But in general, I just appreciate your honesty. There's just so many families that are looking to make this transition and looking for good advice. I mean, just like anything else in life, when you're buying or selling a home, even in California, you usually ask somebody if they know someone they can rely upon or they can refer. And that's kind of what we just want to be here for you here. And Terry, again, has done such a great job of not only hosting great Facebook pages like Life After California and Leaving California, and we just want to continue to, add value to what he's doing for those of you that may be looking to move to Texas. And so again, thank you, Tessa, for taking the time. We look forward to meeting you. And then in the future here, you may be talking to Tessa a little bit too, and you may be asking her some questions. So, but we want to say thank you. And again, at the end of the video, I'll have our contact information, but thank you for taking the time to watch.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And welcome to Texas.
Yes, do it. It's worth it.
Awesome.